pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Make a motion to approve minutes of last meeting.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
We did have two sets of minutes from the last meeting as well. We had the executive session and the council minutes.
Do we add those together? Do you want me to do a separate motion for that?
It's ever how you guys want to do them, but there's the executive session of February 5th, and there's the council minutes. I'm sorry, I should have said that to begin with.
That's okay.
Make a motion to approve the council minutes.
Second.
Okay. You want to take a roll there?
Aye.
No?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
All right. So,
I move to approve the minutes of the executive meeting.
have a second?
Second. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion's approved. Both of them.
We get in here.
Okay. Any public comment?
We didn't receive any requests to speak. We didn't receive any requests to speak, but someone may want to.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have the public meeting. We have a badge printing, badge pinning by the fire chief and the clerk treasurer. Read this proclamation. You want to read this proclamation? That comes ahead.
Do solemnly swear United States of America and the state of Indiana against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, and I will faithfully and impartially discharge duties the town of Danville, the department, according to the law, best of my skills, abilities,
Congratulations. Okay, next on the agenda, proclamation for disability awareness. Nancy Levitt will read the proclamation.
Whereas March is Disability Awareness Month, Sycamore Services is a nonprofit organization founded nearly 60 years ago in Hendricks County. Whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to such a program that gives so much of their time, effort, and passion to the town of Danville. Whereas they provide individualized programs and services to children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities and others living with daily challenges. Whereas the town of Danville does desire to give recognition for the dedication, commitment, and effort Sycamore Services has afforded the citizens of the town of Danville, now therefore be it proclaimed that by virtue of the authority vested in the Town Council of the town of Danville in the state of Indiana, we do hereby proclaim thanks and recognition to Sycamore Services for their work to provide opportunities and improve the quality of life for individuals with disabilities. And we urge all citizens to make an impact on their community like Sycamore Services has and continues to do so for the town of Danville. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hand and caused the seal of the town of Danville, Indiana, to be affixed to this, the 19th day of February, the year of 2020.
Thank you, Nancy.
Opportunity to sign.
Next on the agenda is request to use parking lot. Chamber of Commerce, Director Kelly.
Mr. President, this has been a change on the agenda. She's actually going to request a street closure for farmer's market.
Good evening.
Hello.
Yes, it is a change. We are no longer requesting the use of the parking lot. However, we asked that we shut down Jefferson Street on the west side of the courthouse for our farmers market. That begins May 9th. We will skip the week, obviously, of Mayberry the following week, and then we will continue through September, the first weekend of September, before Labor Day.
Okay, just have a question.
Yes,
So this is the standard farmer's market on Saturday morning?
yes, it is.
Is there a reason why we don't do it on the other side of the street? I only say this because when I come down 36, I can't turn in there. And, okay, go further down and go around the back, that's fine. But a lot of people just come off that street and turn right in. If you were on the other side of the street, I was thinking and talking to Mark, I don't think you'd really stop many of the businesses on that side. I mean, Frank's isn't open, unless you have a different feeling. Courthouse grounds would be open. What are your feelings on that? Is there any pros and cons on either side of the square?
I'm happy to move it to the other side of the square, and I agree, because getting to parking to the back side and to the other side, it was always, you had to think about it before you got there if you're coming from the other side of town. So I think, yeah, I think that would be perfectly fine,
All right,
as far as I'm concerned. I have no objections to that.
As they work with Public Works, Police and Fire, I don't see it being an issue. Ray, do you have any issue with that, having it moved to Washington as opposed to Jefferson?
In years past, that has been tried a couple of times, and the vendors themselves did not like being on Washington Street. I have no pros or cons either way. I just, in past, that we've done that because we had Jefferson tore out doing the concrete all the way around the square, and the vendors themselves did not like being on Washington Street. That's all I have.
Worth a shot.
It is hillier on Washington, if that has anything to do with it. I don't know.
I don't know. This is my first rodeo for this one.
well, we have to keep the people of the town satisfied.
When the fire department then cooks there in that parking lot, then it's close to that parking lot. Is that why they did it? Somebody had to decide to have it there.
I don't know
That's,
why.
that would be fair on the square.
Fair on the
for-
square,
For them to be
maybe. Yeah.
cooking, but this
Yeah.
is farmer's market, which
Yeah.
would be opposite, or typically not
True.
associated with that, so. I'd be happy with either one. I guess I'd allow you to work with, Public Works to determine which one it is. I don't
Okay.
have any objection to either street.
And I can talk to my market masters and see what their thoughts are.
And you guys? So let's do it this way. Whatever you pick it until our next time we can change it.
I can do that. I can do that.
And we'll see how they live with it.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. And what's the feeling of the council? Do I have a motion?
Sorry, I'm going to come up here because I watched a video of this once and the other microphone wasn't working, so just to get on recording. Since you are going to be closing a street, you are going to want to identify that street which will be closed so it can be properly advertised for the citizens. So until they make a decision as to which one they want to place it on, my recommendation to the council would be to wait and then vote on that street because it is the actual closing off of a public right-of-way. So I would recommend no action at this time.
Sounds good to me. How about everybody else?
What were the dates again, Kelly, on the first farmer's market? May 9th. Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So we'll wait on that one till we get the word from you. Okay, next on the agenda is HCCF presentation. William, how are you today?
I am well, thank you. Thank you. I'm William Roadhimmel. I'm the president and CEO of the Hendricks County Community Foundation, and I rise with a point of information. The Community Foundation has recently completed our county-wide needs assessment, and I wanted to share the results of that with you. As you're probably aware, the Community Foundation is an independent 501c3 organization, nonprofit organization. Its mission really is to make Hendricks County a better place. And we do that by partnering with generous people to make grants to support charitable projects and programs within the community. We've recently completed the needs assessment as part of a grant we received from Lilly Endowment last year. Lilly Endowment has supported community foundations throughout the state, including the Hendricks County Community Foundation, and they've challenged community foundations to step forward in more of a leadership role in their communities. The needs assessment that we conducted is the culmination of 6 months' worth of work. We started with one-on-one meetings with almost 60 community leaders, then did focus groups. We had 7 different focus groups involving 100 community leaders and residents. And then we concluded the process with an electronic survey where we received 3,050 responses to the electronic survey. The survey was conducted with both open-ended questions and directed questions, and the response rate we got gave us a 99% certainty with a 2% margin of error. So the survey results were quite robust, and we got information both on what people valued in their communities, the assets that they wanted to see in their ideal community, as well as the needs and opportunities that they identified. The assets, the top 5 assets that were identified, were feeling safe, a strong K-12 education system, trusted leadership, healthy and strong families, and access to health care and wellness. And the top needs that were identified were traffic congestion and public transportation, unhealthy addictions, lack of coordinated planning, community leaders that are self-interested and or lack overall community knowledge. And I will say with that one, it was clear from the responses, this was not just elected and appointed officials, but also nonprofit and business leaders that were being singled out. And the 5th need was negative social media. So we've taken this information, and we see this not as a community foundation's information, but rather information for our entire community. We've compiled it into a report, which I've got printed copies of here for you tonight, as well as it's available on our website. We have the opportunity now to apply for 2 additional grants from Lilly Endowment. One is a $200,000 non-competitive grant. That is, we will receive that to implement a project or program that has flowed out of our work. For that, we're focusing on the issue of community unity. And then we have the opportunity to apply for a highly competitive grant of up to $5 million. And for that subject, we're focusing on healthy families and healthy communities. We have 2 task forces working on these issues right now that have flowed out of a number of community meetings that we held both in December and January.
And our grant application is due to Lilly Endowment on March 13th, so this process is moving quickly. We'll be able to make community-specific data sets available later this year. We received adequate responses from each of the 6 school districts that will be able to pull out data sets for each of our school districts, and we'll be pleased to share that information for Danville with you guys later this year. So I'll be glad to answer any questions, but I want to thank you for your time this evening and offer to give you some copies of the report, and I've got some extra ones for the public if they like it.
I'd just like to say that myself and Tom had participated in some of the activities, that the Hendricks County Community Foundation's been doing. I really appreciate, the time and the effort, thank you, sir, that you guys have put into conducting these surveys. Very well done, and just keep up the good work. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It was an eye-opener. I enjoyed it.
Well, good. Well, thank you again for your time this evening, and thank you for everything you do.
Okay, William, thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the Economic Development Contract, MS Consultants. Thank you.
Well, good evening. My name's Huck Lewis, and I'm with MS Consultants. And I appreciate the time you're allowing me to discuss our economic development and municipal administration consulting services. We are a full-service engineering firm, but I think what sets us apart is this service that we provide. We not only work in economic development, but as I said, we also work in municipal administration. My partner in crime is not here tonight. He couldn't be here, Dax Norton. Dax was the town manager of Whitestown, which, if you know anything about Whitestown, they were the fastest growing community and have been for the last 3 years. So we do all sorts of different work, and within these services, as you can see on the handout that I gave you, it's we do all sorts of different things. Just for example, we're working in Nashville. We signed a contract with Nashville, Indiana, and we're in the midst right now of doing a strategic plan for them, which deals with economic development and where you want to go in the next 5-10 years, and what will that look like. So, like I said, we get into all sorts of different things. We've got communities that we're doing their agendas, we're doing their website. So we get into many things. We will look at comp plans. We also do comprehensive plans, and we will review, if you so choose, we would review your comprehensive plan and then give you recommendations. If it's a full-blown comp plan, then that would be an extra charge over and above what our contract says. As I think here, we're going to be looking more at economic development and possibly working with a new town manager, working with Jennifer, and working to just make sure that you're moving in the right direction. We'll be here, we've committed, we would be here 1 day a week, and we'll be here at 2 meetings, whichever meetings you would choose. to, help facilitate or whatever would be needed. So I guess that's kind of where we are. Let me give you a little brief history of MS Consultants. And we are a multi-state engineering firm, but we also do planning and this service also. But we're in 5 different states. We have over 420 employees across the corporation. We've been in Indiana since 1998. Our headquarters is in Columbus, Ohio. But as I said, we're in 5 different states, going all the way as far as North Carolina. So with that, I guess I would entertain any questions that anybody might have. If there's something I'm...
Jenny,
Yes,
is this in the budget, or do we have enough money to do this?
we have sufficient funds.
I'm going to speak as one person out of 5. I've spoke to some of the professionals we have here, and seem to be very happy with you and would like to have you. A couple of questions I may have on that would be your successes in the past. Was it Plainfield?
We're doing business right with Nashville, Jamestown, Montpelier, and soon to sign Thorntown. And that's who we're basically working.
Do you have one that's finished that you could say this is our big
Well,
success?
these are, Jamestown and Nashville have already signed. We did a 1-year contract with them, and they've already renewed for another year. And that's the contract that we're presenting to you tonight is a 1-year contract. And there's always there's a 45-day out. If it doesn't meet your expectations, you have a 45-day out. So there's always...
Okay, so basically, you're coming in at a time and to help us along our steps to have the town improved and look very nice. So you do that to the end if we say so?
When you say to the end...
You could stay with us for years if we
Oh,
wanted.
yes,
I'm sure you'd like
definitely.
that.
Definitely, we would appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay, some of the talk with me in the past, up here, I don't really think we need to spend money for what you're doing for us, because we've chose to use the Taft Law, and we've been using them successfully and trying to help us run the meetings better and the law, to do everything by the law. But as far as the other stuff you do with the other people in the town, I think, as one vote, I think that sounds pretty good. And I would like anybody else up here to make any comments.
I have a few questions. This is probably more for Mark and Jenny. I know that this discussion started sometime last year. I guess what epiphany did you guys have that made you think, oh, we really need to bring someone like this in to the fold to help us out? And I guess my second tier question to that is, we always talk about RFPs and making sure we're, going after the right people and having the right relationships. Did we look at other firms as we were going through this? And I guess if you could just explain a little bit about that, how you got there, and what did we do to find the right company?
Hear you.
You go ahead.
Well, we did look at some other firms, and
Okay.
the epiphany we had is we realized that we may have been lacking in economic development, and we may have been lacking in knowledge of how to pursue economic development. I think there's a perfect storm that has brewed in the town of Danville. I think what you heard earlier tonight is going to be extremely instrumental in providing economic development by providing our infrastructure and our water and wastewater. And what we looked at is, how do we get the most bang out of our buck in providing the economic development to our town? And we felt like this company was the best company. We did look at a couple of others that, quite honestly, were, I think the one we looked at was almost twice the cost, if I'm not mistaken. It was they had the really nice black folders and. Yeah, Impact. I mean, they had it all, and it's like, holy smoke, they were very expensive, offered similar services. But, and I think the other thing that I looked at, and I can't speak for Mrs. Piercy, but I've worked with Huck when Huck was the mayor of Lebanon. I never had an opportunity to work with Dax, but I looked at his success in Whitestown as a town manager. If you recall, Whitestown, prior, just a little bit before his arrival, there was a Harley Davidson or a LA Cycles, and there was just hardly anything there, and that community has grown leaps and bounds, and we felt like they had the knowledge to assist us in our growth.
Okay. If you don't mind, I just have a few more. So section 1.1 of the contract, and I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to print it out before I got here, so I'm looking at it on my phone. Section 1.1 of the contract, item C, daily monitoring for all community and economic development planning related inquiries, including assist developers and residents with related questions. Who's doing that as of now? Thank you.
Right
now. Where are we on that now? Whose responsibility is that?
Planning department does a great deal of that. Lisa does it. Barry works with a lot of it. Malin, our front office manager, does a lot of it. And again, I don't think they're designed to replace.
So it doesn't
any-
relieve them of their duties?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, it's not going to replace anybody.
Okay.
And I think the other thing that we looked at, these are just things that they offer to us. Am I saying that correctly, Huck?
Sure.
And we're coming in to support. We're not here to take any position
that's-
away or
okay.
anything like that. That's not our
Well,
job.
and so, I guess it's a monthly payment, right? It's like a
Exactly.
retainer?
Yes.
So we pay that regardless of the services that we utilize?
That's correct.
Okay. Couple more, guys. There, in section 101, item D, and Tom kind of alluded to this a little bit, what does town council strategic planning mean? What are you attempting, or what can you offer to us that we don't already get from Taft Law?
Well, I
What
think
does that mean?
basically what we would do, and I want to talk about Taft also, because if we came in, we're going to be working with them. We're not here to take anything away from Taft. We're here to work with everybody that's here. But to answer your question, a strategic plan, we would be looking at, and it would be in the realm of economic development. What do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 5, 10 years, maybe 20 years? Where do you want to be? What's Danville going to look like? Mm-hmm. And we will help you come up with that type of strategy to see where you're going to go and how are you going to grow? Because we all know now, if you're not growing, if a community's not growing, there's a good chance they're going to be dying.
Yep. All right, well, obviously, my question is I want to make sure we're not overlapping, it's not, $10 here and there. It's a pretty big
Right.
sum. So I want to make sure that we're not overlapping duties or pushing responsibilities elsewhere. Last question, just to piggyback something Tom said. These other towns that have used your services, is it possible or appropriate to reach out to those towns and just get some feedback from them? or-
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
So, kind of piggybacking on that of what Tom and David said about Taft, are there services that you provide that are overlap with the town attorney?
Not that I'm aware of. I guess we'd have to talk about that, but I don't see an overlap with a law firm.
Okay. And then,
Like I said, I think we'll be working close with them, but I don't see that as being an overlap.
okay. Any issue with Baker Tilly
Oh, no, not at
Okay.
all.
or Banning Engineering?
No. And a lot of you weren't here when we came the first time, but we're not here to change relationships. That's not our deal. We're here to come in and help you to do the things that you want to move on in the future with. we understand that you have relationships with other engineering firms, with an attorney. We understand that, and that's not what we're here to do. Definitely not.
Thank you.
If I could interject real quick, the one thing that I think that, again, that we've talked about is that everything that you see on these lists, these are just things that they offer. It doesn't mean that we're accepting that we're going to do those things. They're just different things that they offer. But I think in reference to the training aspect, I think one of the things that we looked at is that it's on the strategic plan and on the comprehensive plan. I think that in talking with Lisa, I can't remember when our comprehensive plan was done last, but it's been a while back. And again, I think that if the goal is for economic development, if our comprehensive plan is that old, new businesses aren't going to look at us. They're going to go, well, if you don't care about your comprehensive plan, we're not real interested in coming to your area. And I think that's what we looked at. That was one of the serious things that we looked at when we looked at them.
We have a redevelopment commission, we have a plan commission, we have
Right.
some of these other economic development commissions and things of that nature.
Right.
That I assume are designed to help with those ideas and helping move the town forward.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, how does that play into this as well? Are they doing that already?
MS Consultants will provide assistance to those entities on areas where they may not have the expertise. And I don't know how to say that delicately. But there are things that the citizens may not know
Sure.
that these folks are paid to know.
Well,
I could imagine that the people that we've assigned to those boards and councils, may not have that professional acumen, to, or knowledge, to fully carry out their duties. I could imagine that MS Consultants would be a benefit, to those individuals.
Well, and we have a full planning staff.
I would just like to add that the comprehensive plan and the ordinances really do need to be updated. Okay? I'm not sure all of the specific services that they provide, but I can tell you, Plan Commission, their duties are to look at projects that come before them. Okay, to make sure they comply with the ordinances, to make sure they comply with subdivision control, to make sure they comply with comp plan. And there is training out there for plan commissions and BZAs. So I would welcome any training for any board or any commission, because if you have new people, it's good to have some professional input. So I just wanted to add that. I'm not trying to interrupt anybody here, but the plans we have, the ordinances we have are very old. And if you have a comprehensive plan, the town of Danville has expanded. And our comprehensive plan doesn't go outside into those areas that we have already expanded in. So when the Plan Commission views projects, they're also going to evaluate what does the comprehensive plan say for this area. That just helps them on making decisions. If this area says residential, then the developer or the staff can back that up by saying, yes, they're complying with the comprehensive plan. So, I'm not saying one way or the other. I just wanted to kind of clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, and I would never, I think any type of training is good. Obviously, just want to make sure we're shelling out dollars. I suppose then if we found that we weren't using the services, then we could do something about the contract at that point.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's that 45-day. And I'm not trying to poo-poo this for every reason, but my first starting point was no, because this is a lot of money.
Right.
But obviously there's, good can come out of it.
We
So.
wrote the comprehensive plan back in 1998.
Would have been the Veritas Group, possibly? Okay. 17. Right. Right. I can't remember the name of the company. It's been so long ago. I know that they had the little town hall meetings because we'd met at the church and might be. I don't know. And then I believe our attorney would like to interject on the contract itself. He has some issues that he'd like to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
So what I think is important for the council to realize here is that what is being presented to you is a contract for services, for advice and counsel as it applies to different boards. So we've had some talk about the comprehensive plan. That is not included in the contract, that at least that I had read, the development of a comp plan. Comprehensive plans are big deals. They take extensive time, and most likely will be quite a bit of money. And so that is not, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Huck, that, but a full comprehensive plan is not what is being proposed in this agreement. This agreement is going to be working with your boards, your committees, to help them navigate the processes and the tools that are out there that you can take advantage of. And Huck is right that there's a lot of stuff out there. It's very difficult. I mean, you've heard of TIF, but what are the uses of those TIFs? And how can you use that in a better fashion? There are some things in the contract that I would like to address and adjust, and Huck, if I have spoken about that. So a final contract is not going to be ready for you for consideration today. It may be whether or not you want to move forward with MS in the consulting capacity that you have in mind of working with the different boards. But there are some things that I feel need to be tweaked in the agreement itself, and with all the agreements that we're looking at. So.
Can you share what those tweaks are, or?
Well, there's some certain tweaks. So the State Board of Accounts has gotten very picky on some of the things that they'll look at. So pursuant to the statutes, there's a statute that says any agreement with a municipality has to contain certain clauses in it. And some of those clauses are going to be your non-discrimination clause, your E-Verify clause, your non-appropriation clause. And I think the non-appropriation clause is one that would be applicable as well in here. The non-appropriation clause applies when a contract will go beyond the year that is appropriated by the council, because that money isn't there technically for 2021 yet. And so the non-appropriation clause says, if the council does not pass an appropriation to fund this contract, then it's null and void, and it doesn't move forward. Things of that nature are what I would want to see in the contract. It's something that I'm doing with every municipality that we represent, is we've got to get these into the contracts moving forward.
Thank you. It seems like to me that we have a positive feeling about you, but maybe we should wait a little bit, fix up the contract, and then come back for a vote.
We can do it either way you want, sir. You can actually approve our work with MS Consultants tonight and have the contract revisited, and then you can authorize myself or Mrs. Piercy to sign it based on the adjustments, or we can bring it back.
So that is up to the council. If the council wants to move forward, I don't know what the time frame is right now for the different boards and how quickly you want to get them moving on and trained. But you have the option to approve moving forward with MS on the financial terms that have been presented to you, provided that contract language can be agreed to, that is approved by legal and by MS and by your staffers.
And what we have talked about, the changes you want to see, we don't have any issue. We have no issue.
Okay, another thought. You also, go ahead.
I think as a council, we have a lot of questions to you. And I think as a council, we have a lot of questions we need to ask ourselves. What do we want out of a consultant? So I think it would be best if we discussed what we were looking for before we took maybe something that we didn't need all the way. That's,
So table everything.
I would, yes.
There's two, I mean, if we look
We
at
have
it.
a meeting on Saturday, March 7th, is that correct?
Yeah.
I think that'd be a good topic to discuss then.
He wanted to speak to people that they had worked with.
Yeah, I mentioned that. So I don't know if you could get us specifically who we could talk to. That'd be good. Yeah, I think waiting as well.
So, Jewel, if we made a motion to table it till next time, or?
You can take a motion to table it. I mean, it's up for your consideration at this time. If you don't technically take any action on it, it'll continue on as old business on your next meeting. But what I will do is I will work with Huck to get language that at least I'm okay with on the legal side of it, for your consideration, moving forward. Is and that doesn't cost you anything because it's under the retainer, so. I know that's a question Mark was gonna ask me.
It's always about the money.
Huck, I had just one last question. As it says, you know, the number of meetings per month and things like that to be designated by the client, I mean, do you see yourself working directly with Mark, Jenny, or the determination by all of us council members as to which meetings to attend?
That would be your decision, but we would be working through Mark and Jenny for sure.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right, thank you.
Let me respond to the comprehensive plan. And if I didn't say this when I started, I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. Comprehensive plan, within this contract, we will review it. We'll give you recommendations. Now, if it's so far off that you need a new comp plan, then we can do that also, but that would be a separate fee from the contract. But it says that we will give you recommendations and see where you stand. Okay?
Okay, does everybody had a say and a think? So I think we're looking for a motion to maybe postpone this till we have that meeting.
You won't need a motion, just table it if you wish, sir.
I will just table it then.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
You said you had a meeting on the 7th?
A work-study retreat on Saturday, March the 7th from,
Us there to talk about?
Yeah, that might be good. Yeah, that might be good.
Can you send me the information, and we'll be here.
thank you.
You're welcome. Next item is ordinance 2, 2020, amendment to salary ordinance.
I presented this at the last council meeting for introduction, and it's just up for approval tonight.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 2, 2020 as written.
Were you going to say something, Chief?
No, sir. Just here in case you had questions.
This is for the assistant chief?
Yes, sir.
And as a part of the motion, like we talked about at the last meeting, when you would like it to,
To start when he started.
Yes, sir.
Okay, do you want to carry on there?
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2020, ordinance 2, 2020, as outlined in the previous meeting, to be retroactive back to the start date.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Want to call the roll for votes, Jenny?
yes, Greg Van Leer,
Aye.
Nancy Levitt,
Aye.
Tom Pato,
Aye.
David Winters,
Aye.
Chris Gerald.
Aye.
Motion has been approved.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Next item is ordinance 3, 2020, amendment to salary ordinance. Clerk Treasurer.
So this was presented at the last meeting as well, and this is to amend the funding sources for the wastewater superintendent. Superintendent Chris spoke at the last meeting, and he is in agreement.
Anything?
It's nice to get paid.
What's the feeling of the council?
I make a motion that we accept ordinance 3, 2020, retroactive to January 1st.
No, this
Oh.
week will just go into effect.
Oh, this will just go into effect. So I make a motion to approve ordinance 3, 2020 as read.
Have a second?
Second it.
Any more comments? Jenny, can you take the roll?
Yes, Greg Van Leer,
Aye.
Nancy Levitt,
Aye.
Tom Pato,
Aye.
David Winters,
Aye.
Chris Gerald.
Aye.
Been passed. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, pardon? Next on the agenda is lobbying from Taft's Law.
There are two separate engagements that are in front of you today regarding this. The first one is an engagement for lobbying, well, first let me bring Ann Cottengim up here because she's going to be doing both of these if you choose to move forward. The first is for lobbying services for the next legislative session. As was discussed last year after the food and beverage tax, which Ann had lobbied for, there are certain issues additionally that we were working on, some of those being fees related to court costs, things of that nature, and working with the DLGF to get it into their bill to help present so that certain funds that are collected can possibly come back. One of the other things that had popped up during our latest discussions were the donut holes that you see in your community. And when I say your donut holes, you have the corporate boundaries of the town of Danville. You have these areas which are not part of the town of Danville that are completely surrounded by the town of Danville. And all of those areas are receiving services for the town of Danville, but they aren't paying any of the town of Danville taxes. And so even when it comes to the pickup of leaves, I guarantee you, your DPW is out there picking up leaves and trash and things of that nature that these locations aren't looking at. Currently in the annexation laws, there are 3 ways to annex. One of them is pretty easy, super voluntary, but if people aren't willing to sign on to it, it's a very difficult road to hoe. And so one of the things would be looking at possibly addressing that issue as well. This engagement is written up as a general engagement for lobbying services during this next session. So the next session being the 2021 session of the Legislative Assembly, but you're really going to need to start the summer in lining certain things up. And so we've left it open in case other things pop up. That's not going to change the fees or anything. Ann will be your lobbyist if you choose to move forward with this. The second engagement is tied to the last lobbying deal that we had, which was the food and beverage tax, and the implementation of that food and beverage tax. There are some issues in getting some of that rolling out just through the DOR and the ability to get things reported locally from places. And so it's digging into that issue to make sure that Danville is capturing all of the funds it should be capturing under your food and beverage tax, and it's not going to go to other locations. Right now, we have communities. We have vendors who are trying to get it registered, but as they register, they see Danville, it automatically pops back to Brownsburg or something like that. So it's trying to work with the DOR to make sure that we get those things lined out. So that's generally what it is. I'll turn it over to Ann if you have any questions, because it's her role.
Did you do lobbying for us last time?
I did, thank you. I'm Ann Cottengim, here obviously with Taft Law, and I did do the lobbying for your food and beverage tax. Came here and gave a number of updates throughout session, brought Senator Crane here last year, if you remember that, to introduce you, which
Yes.
I will strongly encourage again if you move forward with some of these other lobbying issues. The reason you need to start really in June is they're getting ready to get out of session on March 14th, half of them are going home to run their campaigns again. But you have to start, it's almost a year-round engagement to keep the relationships, to understand and write out the actual laws and codes that we need to change to benefit the town, seeking the legislative support, starting right here with Representative Thompson and Senator Crane first. Because if they're not going to support it in their caucuses, it's going to be really hard to have everyone else say, yes, we want to give that to the town of Danville as well. So that just takes time and massaging that on your behalf. And then so on the lobbying piece, that would start in June with the food and beverage to really kind of do that reconciliation. with the county to make sure that you have all the entities signed up for the Danville food and beverage tax, to make sure that their payments have been retroactive as of September 1st, when that was effective, and to ensure that all that money is coming back to you in that 60-day lag from the Department of Revenue. And I know that Jenny was just going to appreciate some help on that and some control and making sure that gets done in a timely manner within the next month. Thank you.
Any questions for her? We have enough money for this?
Yes.
So, what's the pleasure of the council?
Like to, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to continue to use Taft Law for our lobbying for 2020.
We have a second?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Any more conversation? Jenny, can you take a roll?
Do we need to move on the, after this on the, okay.
Want to take the roll, Jenny?
Yes. Greg Van Leer,
Aye.
Nancy Levitt,
Aye.
Tom Pato,
Aye.
David Winters,
Aye.
Chris Gerald.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have another one to approve here. Nancy, you were saying?
I move that we approve the contract with Taft Law in the engagement of the law firm for legal services.
And I would just clarify that to be assistance with the food and beverage implementation,
Right.
the food and beverage tax
To
implementation.
assist us in collecting that food and beverage tax.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any more conversation? Jenny?
Greg Van Leer,
Aye.
Nancy Levitt,
Aye.
Tom Pato,
Aye.
David Winters,
Aye.
Chris Gerald.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, next on the agenda is One Choice Contract.
Mr. President, before you is a contract that was signed in January with One Choice Technology Services. I inadvertently signed this after the previous council had discussed working on getting a contract put together. The contract was for $132,600. This falls outside of the scope of my authority to sign. And so we brought this forward back to you to make things right. In the process of doing this, our attorney has brought forth some aspects on the contract itself that he'd like to see a few amendments made. I forwarded it to Will. I don't know if Will had a chance to forward it to Corey yet. Okay. Okay, so,
Yeah, the one that you sent in, you sent it to me, it blocked it. Thank you for it.
so
he's doing his job, is what you're saying.
So what we're paying for is doing its work, obviously, yeah. But,
That's good to know.
but there's a couple of amendments that Joel would like to see in the contract to have it redone.
Similar to the amendments that I mentioned with the MS contract, the non-appropriation, the non-discrimination, E-Verify, some things that are mandatory within the contracts for service providers. So it's putting that language in there. I was on a phone conference with Mark and Jenny. And I want to call you Shaq. I know. I got Greg in my head right now, and I can't get Greg out of my head.
Down there.
Chris will help you.
So we had a phone conference today. We think we can work through the issues, so I can work through that with them, so.
Corey, I know we're putting you on the spot. But we do have, again, there was those issues that are legalese that they're wanting to redo.
President, members of the council, I'm Corey Kaler, the president of One Choice Technology. One Choice Technology has no objection to the legalese and changing things that are statutorily required. My suggestion would be that we get your representative from Taft to either redline or work with our corporate counsel to review those changes, and I think we can have it ready by the next meeting and just table this till then. That work for you guys?
Okay, thank you. So what do you suggest? We table this and correct all the bits and then come back?
That would be my suggestion,
All right,
sir.
we'll table it.
Yeah. And my apologies for my incorrect actions.
Next on the agenda is an interesting one, the baby box. Mr. Roberts.
Good evening. Tonight, I'm requesting approval to move forward to install a Safe Haven baby box at Station 192. Several months ago, I was approached by Fred Harris in the audience tonight to see if Danville Fire Department would like to partner with him to investigate this project. Greg Gerby, Fred Harris, and myself met with Chanel Cunningham, a rep from the Safe Haven Baby Box Corporation, and looked at Station 192 to make sure it was a good fit. At this time, I'm requesting no funds from tax dollars to fund this project. The Danville firefighters, along with citizens, will ask for donations to fund this. I've talked to Clerk Treasurer about setting up a line item for Safe Haven Baby Box donations, so that way it's a clean in and out of any donations that we receive. So if you would like to talk to the council a little bit about the project.
Thanks so much for having me. My name's Chanel Cunningham. I'm the Director of Programs and Administration for Safe Haven Baby Boxes. Safe Haven Baby Boxes' mission is to raise awareness of the Safe Haven law through our crisis hotline, as well as through the installation of Safe Haven Baby Boxes. It started in 2015 when founder Monica Kelsey, who at one point in her life found out she herself was abandoned. She was in South Africa, saw a door on the side of a building of a church, asked the priest, "What is this?" And he said it's for abandoned babies, to try to eliminate the abandonment rate there, which was extremely high. The first baby box was installed in April 2016. We now have 21 in Indiana, a total of 24 in two other states. We're allowed to install baby boxes in 5 states right now. We're working with 7 other states to update their Safe Haven law to allow for the installation of the baby boxes. We have assisted 70 women, either through our hotline, through a surrender, or in our baby boxes. We have 6 babies as of today surrendered in our baby boxes. We just had one today in New Haven, Indiana. In 2019 alone, there were 9 surrenders for Indiana, and all 9 of those were through the Safe Haven Baby Box program. 7 of the women called our hotline, and we assisted them with the surrender, and 2 of the babies were placed in baby boxes. Let's see here. And since 2008 until 2016, Indiana averaged about 2 to 3 infants illegally abandoned. We have only had 1 report of a baby abandoned, which was just in October of last year, in Seymour, Indiana. So in 4 years, we've only had 1 baby, where we were averaging 2. Not sure if you have any questions, maybe. I don't want to go into too deep.
Let me start. One, I think it's wonderful. So what this does is allow some privacy for the mother, like to be totally cut off, or when the mother kind of drop her name or something. How exactly does it work? So I have a baby, and I give it to you.
Yeah, so in
the box, all by myself, and I leave.
Absolutely, yeah. So the Safe Haven law has been around for 20 years, and it was originally created simply to allow a parent to surrender without prosecution. The idea of the face-to-face surrender is really what we believe has continued the abandonment rate in Indiana. So this is a completely anonymous way to surrender a baby. So a face-to-face surrender is confidential, but it's not anonymous. So a woman can, on the outside of the fire station is a door, a woman can open it up, she places the baby inside, there's a sensor that gets broken when the baby's placed inside. So the door opens, alarm number 1 goes off, sensor broken, alarm number 2 goes off, alarm number 3 is when the door is closed. And typically, a fire station doesn't get to the third alarm before the baby is retrieved.
So in the future, we're not going to have 25 children in the fire station.
Who knows?
All little fire guys. Love it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I think it's wonderful and great thing that you guys have thought of. What do you guys think?
I agree.
I think it's a good idea, very good idea.
So earlier today, I had a quick conversation with Rob, because one of the questions that I had pop up was about insurance, if that would raise an issue. So Rob, we want to address that real quick?
Yeah, I talked to Kevin Hill, our insurance provider, and he had researched this and advised that there was no concern with us installing this baby box. So he checked and said we're good to go on that. I had no issues or no concerns.
Okay.
I know our legal counsel has looked over the contract, and they had a few questions. We're working that out. It should not cause any issue.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? What's the pleasure of the council?
Make a motion to approve the installation of the baby box.
Have a motion, a second?
Second.
Motion, a second, no more conversation? Please take the roll.
Craig Van Leer.
Aye.
Nancy Levitt.
Aye.
Tom Pato.
Aye.
David Winters.
Aye.
Chris Gerald.
Thank you.
It's
This
been
will be the
approved, and
first
thank you
one
very
in
much.
Hendricks.
What a great
This will be
idea.
the first one in Hendricks County. Thank you.
Hey, big one here. Next item is adoption of comprehensive plan. Wastewater.
We are back around. I know it's been a long meeting. I intentionally waited to present this master plan to this new council so that you guys could provide feedback and buy-in moving forward. We put a lot out on the table. You guys can move that around. You can say, we like it as is. Some of the things I consider is that northern interceptor. I only need to go halfway with that project to satisfy item. The other half is economic development for the Niles property. So I'm only looking at $2 million of a $4 million project. But I'm also looking at a $2 million building that's needed to get equipment inside of. So it's really, what do you guys want? You tell us what you want, we will finish the master plan, and then you can We will provide copies to you so that you can see all the small things. And I'd also like our attorney to speak on how important it is that we do something.
I feel like I've gotten up here a lot today to talk to you guys.
You're welcome. You're good.
Yeah. When you talk about penalties for overflows, those are not jokes. So when you get to the point in which penalties are being incurred, you can be cited for $25,000 per occurrence per day. So each overflow, you get one manhole cover that overflows. Once you get to the penalty phase, that's a $25 fine per day. 25,000, sorry, $25. Yeah, still got Greg on my mind. $25,000 for that manhole cover. If you got one manhole cover popping off on your sanitary sewer system in that area and it's overflowed, it's at the capacity like what I saw today, you're gonna have more than one of those things popping off. And that is another separate violation. And so those penalties can add up tremendously. And once they start assessing penalties, you have to negotiate with IDEM to try and get out of those penalties. I can tell you we've had to be retained to negotiate with IDEM on citations and penalties that have been assessed. At the end of the day, we've been able to negotiate those down a little bit because of the projects that we're undertaking to get the system fixed, but a penalty was still assessed. And so you have those things that are of utmost importance. On a just simply fiscal sense, looking at the projects that you're talking about, and the timing that needs to be done. You're going to want to make a decision sooner rather than later, and this is the reason why I say that. You're going to have a bond that's going to be associated with that. This is an election year. And traditionally, I think if Buzz was still here, he would tell you, when you get an election year, you get to October or November, the markets go crazy. And they go crazy because of uncertainty. And they will figure themselves out in January, February, or March of next year. But from October to March, it's going to be a situation in which you have no idea what the bond rates are. Your rates right now are super low, and will probably remain that way until you get closer to the election. From the sound of it, they want to get at least this part done, designed and ground broken like sooner rather than later this year. And so you're going to want to tighten down what that is. Is it just a $2 million project to do that first part? Is it going to be a $4 million project? Is it going to be you're going to want to make that determination sooner rather than later so that you can take advantage of the rates where they are now, so you're not dealing with the problem later. Happy to answer any questions.
Kent can guide us through the adoption process. Feedback. Get moving.
I think, just want to touch on the work study. We went through a lot of information, try to prioritize our projects that we were looking at. What I'm just looking for is more of a schedule of how this is going to lay out. Get that put into a draft plan. And obviously I'd recommend every couple of years at least looking at, revisit it, because everything's going to change. House property, it looks shiny now, may go away, may pop back up here or something else. I just encourage, this is going to be a living document from here on out. But when you get at least a schedule put in place, otherwise we'll look at, we need to do these things. Slide down the road and then just want to keep us out of trouble and set ourselves up for growth and economic.
And I think that, for me, it's a no-brainer too, because one, the item stuff, that's important, obviously, to avoid those penalties. But, one thing we talked about in our election year last year is economic development and growing the town and finding ways to grow the right way. Infrastructure is obviously probably priority number one to make that happen. And if we don't have sustainable systems to handle any more capacity or even maintain the capacity we have, then we're all in trouble. So, for what that's worth, I agree we need to get going on this as quickly as we can.
I'll piggyback on what David just said, and that is, infrastructure is really the backbone of our community. It's not sexy. It's not typically even seen, but it needs to be there. And with the decisiveness that happened during this last political election with the school referendum, economic development needs to be number one. And this type of project would help us lead to further economic development of Miles property, airport property, all of it. And right now, interest rates are historically low. I say we do the whole thing. Let's do it now. Now, that might not be the case.
I'm inclined to agree with Greg on that. I think that, your sewers, your water, and air, they're the main things in your community. You need good water and you need clean air. The water is really important, and you have to have a good infrastructure for the water to go the right places that you want it to go and not overflow in the places you don't want it to. We have enough water around here. We just need to get it to the right places to start the ball rolling on this economic development that I think we all want.
Kent, would option two, and just using this, I'm just thinking about the individuals like myself, like all of us that pay that water bill. I don't know about raising rates to almost a double, but would the option two that's laid out in the analysis, how far would that get us?
I think that would get us well underway on two of the smaller projects, and if we wanted to do the north in a phase one and a phase two, you could do a phase one on the priority side if you wanted to, or if you wanted to wait until you had a partnership with whoever wanted to develop that, you could. Or another piece of it you could look at is, when do you want to start on the treatment plant? Part of that money could start, hey, let's get it designed, ready to go, and when the time comes to bid, it'll be ready for bid essentially at that point, because it'll be a significant undertaking to get it to that point. Those monies could so you could phase it different.
And when was the last time we had any kind of rate increase on water?
I believe in 2011, it was voted on, but it didn't phase in for a couple of years, and it was a couple-year phase-in. What we're going to recommend when we're ready to look at the rates is to do a multi-year phase. We don't want to hit it all up at once. We'll meet what we need to have sufficient funds for bonds and to continue to pay as we go projects. But it needs to last over many years, not just you raise it once and you're done. If you give people small incremental increases, it doesn't hit their wallet as hard. My item inspector recommends every year $1, $2. That's really all we're talking about. We're not talking about $10, $20. We're talking about $1 or $2 per month.
Well, interest rates aren't going to get too much cheaper than where they're at now, and now I forgot where I was going with that. And the cost to build a plant, to build the building. I mean, those items get more expensive over time.
Yes.
I kind of see it as a double win right now, or a double dip, that we're getting historically low interest rates, and the fact that we're saving about $500,000 per year between now and the time we decide to do it.
Yes, sir.
Kenny, what do you think about the money thing here, how they've organized it and all that?
I agree. I agree with Buzz's presentation tonight. I've met with him and met with Jerry and been in contact with Kent. And I think what we're doing with the state revolving fund and looking at that and the 2%, it's exactly what Greg said. I mean, rates are at all-time low, and who knows what the economy's going to do. And I think now is the time to act.
I don't know about the people out there, but we've had an hour presentation before you guys came here, which I thought was very professional. And I feel positive about it as well, so.
Go ahead, you were going to say something?
Anybody
I
else?
recommended the council that I could work with Jerry and work with Buzz to get a schedule put in place. We threw out options to you, we threw out the projects that we need. Seems like, and again, I'll take the guidance from you, consensus is let's put a plan in place sooner than later on these items.
Mr. President, in the topic summary, it says that they were seeking a vote. We're actually not going to be seeking a vote tonight. We're looking for consensus for wastewater to move forward with banning, with all of our utilities to move forward, essentially, to start working on this master plan. Would that be safe to say, Jerry?
Yes, sir. Definitely water and wastewater. I think stormwater is funding himself, and he has his own schedule, so he's not looking at the water and wastewater. We're looking 20 years.
So if we can get
So
consensus.
we don't need approval right now.
No, sir, just
even though it
looking
passed
for consensus that you want them to move forward and developing this plan and bring it back for you.
Please.
The thing is, if there wasn't any
okay.
big curveballs that you were
Thank
throwing
you.
back at us that we needed to change or update,
Yeah.
so.
No, okay.
Thank you.
Move forward. Thank you.
That includes KNL.
Yes, sir.
Actually,
Different story. That one will require a vote because it's a capital expenditure.
Okay.
so this is basically, this is the contract to do the floodplain analysis that we discussed in the work study, which is the first step to see the feasibility if we can do these improvements where we're proposing down at the wastewater treatment plant facility. And the reason we're bringing it to you right now, it's kind of a long process because this goes to DNR, and then it's a 9-month process with DNR for their review. Then it needs to go to FEMA, which is another 9-month process. So it's about an 18-month process that we're looking at. And to do the surveying, we have to cross sections of the survey of the creek in multiple areas, about 20 areas. And it's much cheaper to do it when it's wintertime, the leaves are off. So that's why we brought it to you now. Otherwise, If we want to save dollars, we're going to be looking at next winter to do it again, or it'll cost more to do the field work during the spring and summer. So kind of wanted to get that clock rolling with DNR and FEMA more than anything.
And Jerry, that can all be satisfied in your budget?
I would like to speak on the budget. I did not know that the map existed that had things that are not in the floodplain shown on the floodplain. So I did not budget for this project. None of this money is within my budgeting, but there is available in the cash fund to pay for the project. So I would recommend that we do it just because it takes so long. And there's an extra benefit to it. The town will actually own that map when it's done. Right now, FEMA's just took a big marker and drew down the town and said, there's the floodplain. When we're done, it's going to be precise, and it will actually help our ratepayers with their insurance by moving them out of the floodplain. So it's a win-win for the utility and the ratepayers.
How much money are we talking?
62,000 total. It's got several parts to it. As mentioned, it goes to a couple other entities.
If you choose to move forward, I've already had discussions with Kent and Joe Miller at Banning. There are certain tweaks to the language of this contract as well, but if you want to approve the scope, they've already agreed to the changes. And so if you want to approve the scope, you can go ahead and approve them to move forward. We've already discussed it. We know what the changes are, and they'll be back.
Jenny, we can work these monies out?
Yes. Yes, like Jerry said, he has the cash available in the wastewater fund.
Okay, thank you. It's the feeling of the council.
I make a motion to approve the $62,200 request.
A second. Is that a motion?
Motion, yeah. Did I say not?
For the scope of service.
Okay. We have a second?
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any more conversation? Jenny, can you take?
Van Leer?
Aye.
Nancy Levitt?
Aye.
Tom Pato?
Aye.
David Winters?
Aye.
Chris Gerald?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mark, you had mentioned that you wanted to put something on the end of the agenda today?
Yes, under some old business, I'm sorry, Jerry, I know we had a plan in place, but it got diverted. From our previous council meetings, we still had some board appointments that have not been made yet, positions that have not been filled. The first one would be for the Plan Commission. The second is for the Park Board. We did advertise they were both positions for a Democrat. We received one application from Sue Rempert, who is a registered Democrat, lives here in town. And the positions as they're open right now, the Plan Commission is actually a council appointment. It only goes to the end of this year. Sue said she was interested in serving in either board. She is an attorney here in town. Spoke with the president of the Plan Commission. He knows her. He would be very comfortable working with her on the Plan Commission if you so choose to appoint her to that position.
Well, let's deal with that first, the
Yes,
Planning
sir.
Commission. So what's the feeling of the council on Ms. Rampart?
I'd make a motion that we appoint Sue Rempert to the Plan Commission.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any more conversation? Kenny, please take the roll.
Greg Van Leer?
Aye.
Nancy Levitt?
Aye.
Tom Pato?
Aye.
David Winters?
Aye.
Chris Gerald?
Aye.
Okay, we have another one.
Yes, sir. On the Park Board, again, we have a vacancy for a Democrat. We had no other persons in the town of Danville apply for the position. As a result, you have an option to appoint anyone else who applied, regardless of their political affiliation. This, and I apologize, the position you just appointed ends December of 2021. This one is the one that ends this year. So it would be filling a vacancy to the end of this calendar year on the Park Commission. The one person you had apply for the Park Board was Dave Glover. You assigned him to the Redevelopment Commission, but it is a non-paid board, so it wouldn't be contradicting to the dual lucrative office holder. So you can appoint Mr. Glover to the Park Board unless you see otherwise.
So one of the steps is whether or not it is a compensated board. Another point of analysis is, what power does that entity have? And so with redevelopment controlling TIF dollars, I'm just not sure whether or not that triggers the lucrative office position.
I didn't see it, but it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
And I would not be able to get you an answer to
Could you report back by the next meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
So we could table that until
It's
then?
like a, what would you say, 17 or 18-page document on all the, it's like wrecked and paint dry.
horrible document that was put out that is changed all the time when the Attorney General gives a different opinion as to what is or what is not a lucrative position. And so it's not fun.
So
when's your next redevelopment meeting?
Development would be, it's like March 18th maybe, or 19th.
So we have another meeting.
Second Thursday. Yeah. They'll have a park board meeting for that, and we'll have a council meeting before that. We'll have a council meeting on the 4th.
Oh, yeah, you'll have plenty of time to fill the board.
So we'll table this one.
Yes, sir.
Everybody okay with that?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, comments from everybody. Mark?
Department head.
Sorry. Wrong page.
We'd planned to
cut
transition
the meeting
right
short.
into Jerry, but unfortunately, we had the old business to
There's a whole
discuss.
other page here.
Yeah.
All right, department heads, wastewater.
Okay, January was a very rainy month for wastewater. Good for the DPW because they didn't get all that rain as snow. But unfortunately, it did overload our collection system. But I looked at that as an opportunity for me to get men down working in the sewers where they could see the leaks coming in and get those areas we've identified as problematic from our GIS asset management work. Get some of those, some of those problems handled and fixed. So I did do a quick project in January. It was an expensive project. I'll try to slow down the rest of the year and shotgun the information to Mark so that you guys are aware before I do projects. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Water?
Good evening. I'd like to start my report off for the month. I'm happy to report February 10th, I had my employee start. I just hired. His name is Robert Benjamin. He already worked towards getting his CDL prior to even coming to work for the town of Danville. He's still working towards that. I see within a month or two, he'll probably obtain it. So I'm pretty excited about that. On the 12th of February, 241 North Washington, I had a water leak. Ended up being a minor leak, it was just a service line. There was no water main shut off. I managed to re-tap the main. It was an old 5/8 line, which is very uncommon and impossible to get fittings for, but we managed to make it work and re-tapped it. The only house was out of water was the temporary fix for that service line. Camden Creek subdivision going in, I managed to send a letter of intent to them last Friday on getting the casing bore in and starting their work. Now, they will not be able to touch our water main or do a hot tap on any of that for 30 days. That's based off of IDEM. They're pretty edgy to get started on it, but until that goes 30 days, they're looking at March 15th before they can do anything. think they're really wanting to get stuff done, but unfortunately, that's the way it is. Currently, today, I was working with the Omega Church, trying to get that pressure test to pass. We're working on some of the plumbing issues. I'm trying to help the contractor with that. We had some issues today. We're going to give it another shot tomorrow. And also, I took a section of old water main and come up with an idea of capping it off and just simply feed it with the garden hose in the shop. I'm trying to do some in-house training on the two guys I have, especially with the new one that just started, on how to hot tap a water main. The guys had fun with it. We're going to keep drilling holes in it until we can't drill any more holes. But anybody wants to come down, if they want to schedule and watch one done out of the mud, then certainly do that. We also, while I had holes drilled in, I went ahead and used that opportunity to show the new fellow that we hired to how to install a repair clamp. It sounds simple, but there's certain things in how I do it that I wanted to show him. So while we had water gushing out of the holes we just drilled in it, we showed him how to properly install one of those. I believe Mark posted on social media. I'm not sure where he posted that. That's about it. I know the 27th, 28th next month, guys are going to be out reading meters. So if you see him, one of the new guys staggering around, looking like he lost, you may want to show him where the meter pit's at. Find it. So that's all I have to report. Questions? Thank you.
Mark?
This past week, we had our IPRA state conference. We learned a lot. Good team building for the guys, so thank you for the opportunity for that. We had our park board meeting last night. We had some long discussions. The Little Leagues came out and kind of presented what they did over the past year and what they're looking to do and how we can help them. It was a really good meeting, really positive, a little long, but it was good. We also discussed the amphitheater. The quotes came back in a little heavy, so we're going to look to kind of rearrange what we're going to do. I think we're going to go just all brick on the 4 pillars, and I think we're going to remove the back wall. They came in almost double. If you know construction right now, it's pretty hot and heavy. So by removing some of those things, we lower the price, and we think we can get it done maybe even by the summer. So I'm hoping next meeting to have everything finalized to come to you guys for approval. So also, we're looking to do some DAC upgrades on our priority projects list that I presented last time. We've got our first estimates on that, and so we're going to be working hard. We still got 2 more quotes coming back, hopefully in the next couple months. That's going to be a pretty big upgrade, some ADA compliance things, kind of bringing the whole old school locker room to the modern, not to shower with a friend, shower in your own stall. Bringing up the locker rooms in there too, and then removing some walls because we want to add some more equipment and add some more cardio and a little bit more of the heavier weights. Really, it's just our big dream of just keep growing it, making it bigger, better, badder. And that's pretty much it. So we have a lot of little projects going on that you'll probably be coming to you guys for approval after I get park board approval. In the next probably 3 months, I'll have a lot of things that I'll be coming to you for. So,
Will, taking that wall down, is that going to change the acoustics?
No, actually, we reached out to some bands, and they actually, it's already in kind of like a gully, we'll call it. So, and most of them don't like the bounce back from their instruments that you get off the wall. So our idea was to actually do windscreens. So it'll still give that effect, plus we can sell it for sponsorships because we have some talks going on right now. I don't want to hammer anything out yet, but hopefully to get some larger sponsors to help take care of some of those costs too. We haven't named it yet. That's still out on the floor. The park has naming rights things, so if we get to that point, I'll probably come to you guys for that as well. So we have a lot of cool things on the horizon. Last year was kind of our planning year. Lots of meetings, and this year hopefully will be our implementation year as long as the funds are there.
I think Greg wants to make a donation, so it's the Greg Van Leer Amphitheater.
That would look good on the
That's
top.
what I heard.
Can we put my photo on all of those screens?
We can do whatever you
I
want for the
bet
right
you
price.
can.
We
I
want
bet you
people to
can.
show up.
That's the right answer. That's the right answer.
Make sure you put a target on it.
Yeah. All right. That's all I have.
I know this is probably at the bottom of your agenda, but that dog park, anybody talking any more on that, or?
No, but I'm happy to reach out and do some more research on
I
that.
appreciate that.
When we talked before, I also talked about our master plan. And so we kind of go off the surveys of the master plan. So that would be the time, if there's some dog lovers out there, to really rally and put it on the surveys, because we'd like to follow those surveys. And the master plan, that's towards the end of this year, so.
It's good. And longer,
Yeah, it's already ordered.
anything else from anybody?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Public Works.
Been a long meeting, so I'll try to keep mine short. We're a couple guys short, one off injured and the other didn't work, and he's gonna be off a while. We've been cleaning some trucks, trying to get some salt off of them. We've done some patching. We're working still with R&M Electric on the lighting on the square. We've worked with Lisa on the road inventory, and that is with NDOT, and she has done a real good job and turned in quite a bit of information to them this last week. We're taking quotes on our roof repair down there at the shop. We will be helping Matt tomorrow at the water company. We've been doing some fleet maintenance, putting up some banners, line locates, repaired some snow removal damage. We got a mailbox set out on Money Lane. We did do a little plowing and a lot of salt, and as Jerry said, we've had a lot of refreeze late at night. We're repairing some trailers, and we've also assisted the stormwater. My year-end report will be ready for the next meeting. Any questions?
South Wayne Street was closed today. Was there some work being done down there?
That would be Jerry's department.
Oh.
They are installing a new manhole. There's 4 houses there, I'm hearing, that didn't have sewers, so they are adding a sewer through there and had to cut the road.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you very much. Fire. Robert.
Year-to-date, the fire department's responded to 213 runs, fire and EMS incidents. Next couple of weeks will be very busy for the fire department in training. We're doing autism training. That was completed today. All 3 shifts completed that. We're doing some hotel high-rise drills at the Indianapolis airport. They're tearing a hotel down at the airport property. So we partnered with the airport fire, Indianapolis Fire Department, and several career departments around Hendricks County are participating in that. The guys have completed some surface ice training, and they'll be attending a leadership class in Brownsburg. That's all I have to report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning.
Good evening. Just let you know, BZA and Plan Commission both met this month. We're keeping very busy with our boards and commissions. We've created what we call a technical advisory committee, and it's basically staff, wastewater, stormwater, water. And what we're going to do is be reviewing plans that go before the Plan Commission, so we can get input from everybody, so we're not just having to send an email out here and there. Everybody will sit down at the same table together and review plans. Along with that, we are going to do what we call a preliminary consultation. So someone that's looking to possibly develop, they can come to that meeting and get input from all of those utilities as well. Let's see, next month, or next council meeting, I'll be bringing an ordinance for the subdivision control ordinance, amending Section B, which is the wastewater standards, and also a rezoning. And then lastly, I did, Tom, thank you for letting me know about the census maps. I did reach out to them and sent them the application, and they're going to be sending me maps to update. So
Thank you.
we'll get that taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. Stormwater. Barry.
As usual, I have a lot to talk about, and I'll try to keep it down to a minimum. I wanted to add another point to the rate, the possible rate increase. One of the things that we hadn't mentioned is when our rates are set, that's a static number. It's based on use of water, but it's still a static rate that doesn't account for increased services and goods. You may have seen in your packet that we did a pretty large stormwater project on Columbia Street, and the pipe alone on that project was $8,000, and it was 140 feet. So you can only imagine what the cost, the increases every year. So I think the rate increase is definitely needed. But I just wanted to bring that up because those costs increase every year, and our rates do not. So I think we definitely need those increases. Other than that, we've had 9 new single-family residential dwellings in the last 2 weeks. So it doesn't seem like we're growing, but it sure does seem like it to me. We've also had all the usual projects going on. Justice companies, we've got a meeting with them tomorrow about keeping the roads clean and trying to get a path to the back of the construction projects. It's kind of a hot topic among administratively the best way to do that. I always like to leave that road last so the road doesn't get tore up during construction, but yet it tracks mud on the street if we don't do that. We've also completed the remodeling. I call it remodeling, but it's just painting and floor coverings upstairs, so all those rooms are ready to be used. That was part of a project that was approved last year and it continued in this year because we ran out of funds. If anybody wants to go up and take a look, it looks 100% better. Most of the chalkboards are off the walls, and all the graffiti's been painted over, so it looks really good. Talk about a couple of projects coming up. We are going to be working on, well, first of all, I'll go back to the cost of the pipe down at the park. That was a huge endeavor, and we found a lot of, every time we dig stuff up, we find better ways that we can do things, and one of those ways is line locating is one. The other is when in that small space, we had a water main, we had a sewer, basically a 2-inch sewer line. We had the fiber in 2 different places, and we really had to thread a needle with a 13,000-pound stormwater structure. So it was a pretty daunting task, but everybody chipped in, Public Works, wastewater, everybody helped me out, so I appreciate that. The contractors did an excellent job. But going back to the other projects, there's going to be a big one come on Columbia. That road was just paved. And a lot of the problems there are drainage. You can see water coming out onto the road. We're going to go down the north side of that road from about the entrance to Wexford all the way down to where it discharges into an open ravine. And I'm sure in your package you're going to see a lot of large numbers coming out of the stormwater department, but that is, a lot of it is pipe. A lot of it's going to be a new product that they use for a 3-to-1 slope, steep bank. Usually you get a lot of erosion. These are called turf reinforcements mats. And for all you people who like acronyms, that's a TRM. I know the EPA likes acronyms, so they keep adding to them. But anyway, that's going to be a large project. We're going to have to shut down part of that road. And I figure now is the best time of the year to do that because if we get to summer, that road's going to be blazing. There's really no good time for that road, but I'll make sure that we have traffic control, and I'm sure Public Works will help out there too. But the idea behind that, and Mark and I have talked about this, is try to maintain the integrity of that road. And the only way to do it is to put an under drain in. It's not going to be curbs, it's not going to be flashy, it's going to be functional, and hopefully it'll last a long time. iWorks, we've got a new program for permitting, and we're wrapping up the last part of that implementation, and that's collecting fees. and making sure all the department heads get a little bit of training. We're hoping to go live with that on March 6th. There is going to be a link on the website. We won't put that on until March 1st, maybe March 6th, but there's going to be a link on our website, and I think I sent you an email. The 7th. So we're trying to figure out the date to go live because we don't want to do, because basically it's going to be a place to schedule inspections. You can do complaints, whether it's potholes, drainage, or whatever. So people can go on there and we'll be able to track those complaints. So now there's accountability, goes to the right department. If it doesn't get done, then it goes up the food chain to Mark, and then we make sure things get done. We haven't had a big problem with that, but there's so much in town that needs work, and that goes back to this rate increases. Stormwater's a little different because when a developer comes in, they put that infrastructure in. It's our job after we accept it into the town that meets our standards that we now maintain that pipe. So there's a little bit of difference between water, sewer, and stormwater in that regard, that the burden of cost of putting that initial service in is not stormwater's, it's the maintenance that comes afterwards where the cost is, and that's kind of the difference. And then I also want to say that stormwater is not groundwater, it's on the surface. So a lot of the groundwater that gets in these pipes are either groundwater or water that has I will say, a non-conforming connection, which some people like to use illegal with the sump drains, the downspouts and things like that. They do have a huge impact. So any way that I can help Jerry out in that way, we've always worked together. We've tried to do that. So I think I've said enough. And if you guys want to go upstairs and look at it, just let me know. It looks good. That's all I have.
Anything? Thank you very much, Mary.
Thank you.
Police.
Mr. President, council members, Danville Police Department took 596 runs, calls for service in January. We had 59 reports, 39 arrests, 6 OWI arrests. Also like to thank the fire department. We partner with them on this autism training. Our officers have been busy doing a lot of training here lately. The autism training was a great thing. It was a great partnership with us and the fire department. They provided some good instructors, and it was good feedback from our guys. Also, we've started supervisor training. All the supervisors have started training. Texas A&M has an online class. In the state of Texas, it's mandated that all the supervisors go to this class. So it's a pretty good class. We started that. One of my goals this year was to get my supervisors involved into supervising classes and to build on that for them. So we've started that, and we started our training there. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Staff and council comments. Mark.
I've just got a couple of things to report. Vectren will be starting some line rehab on March the 2nd. They will be all over the north side of town, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and this project will run until November the 1st. And we did have a meeting with them Friday, and we discussed their cutting of the road, because some of those roads are just freshly paved, I mean, within the last 2 years, and we really don't want to see them cut to the point where it negates everything that we've done. So they worked with us greatly. They talked about doing dual mains so that we wouldn't be cutting completely across the roads. So it was a good meeting. We met with them about them and Miller Pipeline. So, but we'll put it out on our social media that, again, starting March the 2nd through November the 1st, there could be road closures, slowdowns anywhere on Tennessee, Washington, Maine, Wayne, Columbia, Clinton. It's everything on the north side. They're going to be rehabbed all the way down to, I think, Spring Court, if I'm not. Yeah. So it's going to be. It'll be past 39. So it's
Does
a big.
everybody have your telephone number?
I'm sure we'll make sure it's out there. Last thing I have, the retreat for March the 7th. We have a good situation. Blanton House is reserved for a wedding, so we cannot use it, but that's good revenue for the Parks Department. The train station is reserved. We can't use it, so again, good revenue for the Parks Department. So we're going to take it into an area that maybe some of you have never been to. I talked with Chief Hilton. He has a nice training room that's directly below us. And so we're going to go down to the training room. The nice thing about it is there'll be access from the back part of the building. You won't have to use the elevators or stairs. We can get you into the back side, and we'll have our retreat down there. And I'll
good.
advertise it, and I'll put directions on how to get there and everything. And I'm still planning on sausage, gravy, and biscuits. So,
Sounds good. Thanks, Chief.
all right. That's all I have.
All right. A question. Have you progressed any on your assistant town manager?
I was going to bring that up on the March 7th at the retreat. I've had 2 applications for it, and so I just want to see which direction the council wants to go, and we'll move on forward from there.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Kenny?
Yes. I wanted to let everyone know that next week, February 27th, in the Hendricks County, well, the Republican will advertising to reestablish our cumulative capital development fund. This is an annual thing that we do. The advertisement will run for 2 weeks in the Republican, and then I'll bring it before you at the second meeting in March. And we have completed our 2020 employee benefit guides. These are the benefits for all full-time town employees. These were distributed to the employees today. Thank you. And so I want to make sure you guys have a copy so that you can see the benefits that the town offers for all of our full-time employees. So those are your copies to keep. That's all I have.
Greg?
Those look good. I like those. All right.
Thank you.
My commitment from last meeting was to get all the different meetings on my calendar. I was able to accomplish that. I met with Jeff Pipkin from Hendricks County Economic Development on the 13th, reviewed documents from the clerk treasurer, met with Ray. Thank you, Ray, for coming, and meeting with me on a holiday. I kind of screwed that up, but appreciate you taking the time to come and help me out, so. Finished up the wheel tax question for Jim. Special thanks to Jenny for her help on helping us connect the dots on that, so I appreciate it. My commitment for next meeting will be attend a county council meeting coming up and attend the legislative breakfast. That's all I have. Thank you.
Nancy?
I really don't have anything. I really like the baby box idea, and I've talked to Rob about having an alarm be in my house also, so that I can get down there and hold the baby while everybody's, yeah, so work on that a little bit.
I have nothing.
Chris? Well, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Motion for the claim dockets. Make a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Kenny, take the roll.
Greg Van Leer.
Aye.
Nancy Levitt.
Aye.
Tom Pato. David Winters.
Aye.
Chris Gerald.
Aye.
Thank you.
And approved, and motion to adjourn the meeting.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Kenny?
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Greg, or Chris.
Greg Van Leer.
Aye.
Nancy Levitt.
Aye.
Tom Pato.
Aye.
David Winters. Chris Gerald.
Meeting's adjourned. Enjoy your evening.
We need to do
Drive
this for
safe.
you guys.